Smile. Yeah, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Everyone's here except Cole. Mrs. Paphausen, you can lead us in the pledge.
To the republic for which it stands, nation, to justice.
Thank you. Introduce the guest, please.
Yes, absolutely. We have
Look at the minutes and have a motion in a second.
I would move to approve the minutes.
second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion or questions? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, next, we have the review of the claims and accounts, John.
All right, you'll look on the first page. Got a few to go over this evening. About halfway down is item 20444. You'll see there hospital health care. That's our monthly trainer fee for Elisa. You have just have any questions about that? That's $3,743.20. And that's what we pay monthly for Elisa to work with our student athletes. A little further down, item 2447, of course, one of our MasterCard expenses. You can see the total for that's $13,979. A fair chunk of that amount is item 6 underneath there toward the bottom of the page. You'll see bus parking supply, $4,881.74. Transportation usually takes up a fair chunk. Just something I'm coming to kind of those patterns and expenses. We do have a healthy transportation account, however. That amount does not concern me. Any questions on page 1? Moving on to page 2. About the middle page, item 2449. Building, Mind and Body, Stan McGee. That's for $10,926.40. That's payment for pre-settlement assistance, consulting travel hours, reimbursement for miles. Assistance with the ACE building settlement. Any questions on that or anything else on that page? Okay, we'll move on to the next page. Now, page number 3. I don't have anything specific on this page to point out, but I'm happy to answer any questions about any of the items that you see. Page 4 near the bottom, item 2470. Northwestern Energy. Now it's that time of year when our electric bills start going up a little bit. So it's $9,646.90. Put gas in there too. Gas, electric combination. Northwest. Questions? Anything else on page 4? I'll move on to page 5. Anything specific to point out on page 5? Again, if you have questions about any items you see listed, I will answer them to the best of my ability. Okay, moving on to page 6. Do have some on page 6, our final page. First one, Top of the page there. Item 2480. US Bank, $122,900. That's for the bond payment. That's interest only on the bond payment. And speaking with Suzanne, I guess we typically make 2 payments per year, once around June and once around December. June payment, I believe, goes to principal, and second payment, December payment goes to interest. We still got till when, 2036 on that?
17.
Somewhere thereabouts.
And that smaller loan bond, and we paid it off.
That was things a bit, but it was expected. And then near the bottom of the page there, item 2486. Jefferson Energy, this is one of our major gas bills. So that's $3,164.90. That brought up a total of 48 claims a month from 44 vendors for a grand total of $189,092. Major chunk of that being the bond investment. And the last page just kind of gives you a breakdown to show you how it was all paid out. General fund breakdown, transportation, debt service is where the bond payment came from. Some from building, that was you probably used for Dan McGee a little bit there, right, Suzanne?
Yes, it was.
Yes, real small amount from building reserve. You look at flex, miscellaneous, super tiny amount of graphic education, you can do graphics and start graphic learning. Questions on the claims? Anything that comes to mind?
Before our January meeting, Suzanne will be paying the amount to ESI. We have the one big check has arrived, and the attorneys have the second check, and they're waiting for it to clear before they send it to us. And we received the $90,000 check today. Correct? So I think once everything clears, if I remember, we have 15 days to pay them, and we already approved that at our last meeting. So we'd be good to go. Anybody have any questions on the claims and payments?
So move to approve pay the claims.
Been moved and second to pay the claims and accounts. Is there any question or discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay, next is public comment, Rob. All right. I don't want to say something. I was going to ask Josh, Paige is up under public comment. If you want to move Ashley or Ryan up any further, sure. After we get done with Paige, so you want to do your due, please.
I, along with Ellie Curry, are just the advisors for our Hope Squad, and this is a new program that we have here at BCHS. It's something that was installed in the middle schools, and so it's something that's new here, but kids have seen it. So we have 13 members that were all nominated by their peers. And then we have initiated a couple of things so far. We've really just kicked it off within the past couple of months. But our first thing that the kids wanted to do was really bring in hope, especially around times of holiday seasons where kids might start to feel negatively about mental health or their situations and so on. So they did a hopeful hand turkey poster where all of the students wrote down something that they were hopeful for and put it on the walls, trying to spread cheer and good vibes, really. And we put out a raffle for kids sort of to incentivize that activity. And then they are doing an angel tree, sort of like a giving tree, and it's combined with 406 Coalition. And so they're going to ask all students who may need things, whether that's clothes, food, hygiene products, to scan a QR code and sort of fill out those things. And then 406 would donate those items. And this would be totally anonymous for those students so that they don't feel pressure. really that's what we have started, and then they'll go through QPR training, which is like the suicide prevention training. And we'll just keep rolling, trying to keep positive vibes and promote our good culture at the school. So I just wanted to give you guys an update because where we're at with Hope Squad.
We did have a Christmas card from Sweet Enterprises that they all signed, wishing us to have a Merry Christmas. Okay, which, where do you want to go over? Okay, Ryan, you want to go ahead and move first? And then Ryan.
Well, thank you for letting me speak on behalf of our a great partnership last year with our shared space of the welding shop and classroom. The feedback from both Kayla Vigo and our welding instructor Cassidy, they worked well together. I think it was overall better than I think anybody could have expected as far as asking someone in their classroom to be in their space, to use shared equipment and usage. So we really appreciate that as we're building our program. We are asking to lease that space again. The first year we used federal Carl B. Perkins funds, and we wrote into the grant a certain lease amount. And as Carl D. Perkins funds goes, they rarely give money a second time for the same use. Generously, we were able to, we had to not ask for the full funds for the lease that we used last year, but they were still generous in allowing us to use those funds for the same exact activity. Again, that's rare for Carl D. Perkins to allow that, but it is less than what we had written our lease for the first year. So last year it was a $20,000 lease to share the space for about 12 weeks. That's 2 to 3 nights per week. A couple weeks were not meeting weeks, several hours each night, like 2 to 3 hours each night. That same schedule is in place for this spring. We addressed 13 students last year between community members and Western students. This year, enrollment's a little bit slower. We're at 5, 2 community members, 3 Western students. So we haven't realized those numbers yet, but we are asking 13 or for you guys to consider a lease agreement of $13,000. We did look to see if there were additional funds that we could sweeten that pot. Unfortunately, there isn't, and we're unwilling to put that on the backs of the students because it's already at about $1,500 for a community member, which is the same for our Western students. So we have committed to try and write grants to get new equipment. That's been in place last year. We can look at that again. I know that's not the same amount. I tried to look at leasing shop space, welding equipment, and the best numbers that I could find. And I'm happy if anybody else can come up with numbers. I'm not exactly sure what the square footage of the shop is, but I took about 1,200 square feet. On the high end, about $500 a week. That's about $5,000 for 10 weeks. We know there's wear and tear on the equipment. That's why we try to do a large lease. Hopefully we would never have to replace a whole welding unit. We talked about that last year in the event that catastrophic event did happen. Western would honor that outside of the lease, but we are kind of at that pinch point where $13,000 for the lease agreement is really what our funds can bear. We realize that if that isn't something that the school district can accept because of that difference from last year, we completely understand that and honor that. But that's kind of where we're at with our funds and what we were able to do on that. So we just want to be very respectful of partnership, and we really value it, but we also understand that if that isn't quite enough to make that partnership stick for this year. I did share with the administration that we'll have that class starts January 26th or 8th. And we'll have to know if it's a go or a no-go earlier in January, so that you guys know if that's approved and we're able to go forward. If not, we'll have to maybe table that course and go back to our own drawing tables to see where we can go for future. So we really appreciate your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have or follow up with anything. The insurance, the MOU that we used last year, all those copies are with Superintendent Patterson for review. We would just change that number from 20,000 to 30,000. Appreciate your consideration and happy to answer any questions.
So I did meet with Ryan. We met a couple of times, but we talked back and forth. We didn't really meet again until this past Friday, so we didn't have a whole lot of time. So I've spoken with Mr. Igo. It's been a few weeks since I spoke with him, and sharing what he shared with me, if I remember correctly, when I mentioned to him that how the decrease from at least to 13,000, he was disappointed. And I would say that I'm disappointed as well, just because I can't realistically think of a facility you're going to get lease for that amount of time that's as nice as what we have. And I do believe he mentioned that there was a mobile unit that could have been leased that was more expensive than 20,000 we charged last year. Nowhere near as nice or as large. So that's just something to consider. Doesn't mean I would be opposed. It just means that it'd be a Christmas gift, I think, to Western if we did this. I do think it'd be important that there be something in writing in that MOU to give us some peace of mind that if a unit did go out, Western would cover the expense of it. And I think I would feel a little better about it.
Is it not currently in the MOU?
I didn't see it, but I mean, I certainly could have overlooked it.
I know that was something that Megan, Caleb, Rob, we were all had addressed last year, and definitely very important factor. And that could easily be double checked. And if it's not in there, consider how that would and could be written in there.
And it may be, like I said, I could.
Yeah. And as far as the mobile unit, that is the place that we started first, but we're looking, it is extremely cost prohibitive, is why we went to Trinity to even order it in the first place to yeah. And then, you're correct. There's not a whole lot of shops out there that are just willing to rent that space, but yeah, it's full disclosure of where we're at with where our funds are, or more importantly, where they are not. So,
Ryan, do you have any idea if we did go ahead and approve it this year, what next year would look like at this point in time?
yeah, so our original plan is a 3-year plan where we would have year 3. We're in the works of revisiting it, but Harrington Pepsodent Bio Company we have discussed using one of their shops that's across from Pivots Plus for exactly this, a welding and kind of construction of trades building, if you will. Those discussions were in work about 4 years ago. They're currently being used for storage while one of our buildings is under construction, which is due to be complete this spring. And that moved out, and then we would have to upgrade and invest in those upgrades for, a full shop. So our goal is to be self-sufficient, and the goal was a 3-year plan. There's still work to be done with that, so I can't say that that's going to happen in 2027. it's so hard to say that. That would be our next target time when we would offer a welding. We're really still trying to determine the demand. We don't see welding class being offered more than once a year at this time. So that's kind of the plan that we're looking at, trying to realize the reality of the supply and demand.
Anyone else have any questions for Ryan? Thoughts? We certainly want to be a good neighbor to Western if we can, but at the same time, there's not enough money. I mean, that's something we'll have to talk about, discuss, I guess.
Yeah, it's really a good board, I think, and it's I feel comfortable knowing that we have some coverage if there's any kind of loss. That would be expensive to replace, recover. I agree with Gary that it's nice and we can all work together. I think Western is a good partner to have. And I'm sure I would hope they'd be willing to help us out down the road if we get in a situation where we needed some kind of similar help or assistance. Just have to take next year to see what happens next year. But again, I think I don't know if I'd want to make a recommendation one way or the other. I think Mr. Igo would be fine. Just in talking with him, he enjoys participating and being part of the program. Be a little disappointed because a lot of that funding gets funneled, the majority, I think, Suzanne, gets funneled right back into the program, doesn't it? Yeah. So that eats into their projected budget quite a bit. But they have one of the more healthy budgets of any of our clubs or just programs in general. And they also have a high enrollment. I think justifies that as well. Justifies that funding. So I could see going either way. But I'd love to hear what you think as trustees.
I think it's forever. We help them, they help us. We help them, they help us. This isn't the first, it won't be the last. If 13,000 is agreeable to Mr. Igo, if it's enough to cover the expenses and give us a little bit, to me, it just makes sense. Because whenever men's basketball couldn't practice last week because there was but they had to practice at different times. So they go use the gym at Western. There's no fee. There's no cleaning fee. It happens. This is just one example. This type of stuff happens all the time. I'm not saying we should do it as a deficit if it's going to cost us money, but if it's absolutely going to bring us some money, to me, it just makes complete sense. That's just.
I guess I agree, especially if we're covered in the MOU, if they would replace something that they got ruined or damaged severely. So, they were instrumental in getting Vigilante Field to the high school for no fee. At one time, they were talking $1 million is what they were thinking we were going to have to pay, and we got it for nothing. So I'm like Roxanne, if we can help the college and help some of the kids and some of the townspeople, and Mr. Igo's okay with it and we're not losing money on it, I think, personally, I think it's fine. Anybody else?
Sorry, it's super important to me. And a level of comfort about I think it comes down to those two things. The relationship is incredibly important, and trying to maintain that over the course of time, a good partner in that relationship, I think is incredibly valuable for this community. So I agree, as long as Mr. Is okay with it, and we can at least break even and feel like we're covered if there's something catastrophic.
Anybody else?
I agree. Western Cambridge County has been good partners for years. Got to continue.
You do think Caleb's okay with it?
Yes. Maybe a little disappointed, but there, you know, I think it's important to maintain the goodwill. And let's hope you share that, so give us some brownie points with Western and hopefully hope for continued partnership as we move into the future.
Noel and Chris, any thoughts or comments?
I agree with everybody else.
I was just trying to read the MOU to see if there's anything about replacement items.
No, I didn't even when I thought that.
Yeah, I agree. As long as we're not in a deficit. Maybe Mr. Ryder was key.
With the board, is it entertaining a motion with the contingent of that placement of any equipment into the MOU?
Can we do it now, or do we want to wait till action items to do it, or can we go ahead and prove it now?
We can wait for now. That's okay. That once you know, we have to wait.
Ryan, do you have any idea if we had to, or not had to, if we mix medicine again in a year from now, money wise, what it's going to look like?
I would recommend that we reconvene hopefully in May, and maybe start those talks early and kind of see. That'll also probably position us better to know what our next steps are long term. And then also provide much more lead time for all of those things, whether there's talked about hard dollars or maybe an exchange to mutual grant writing for new equipment, replacement costs with chips and equipment, or other ways we can leverage if we can't move that dollar amount more significantly up. And I also want to note that we also pay for the cost of like the gas. Those things are outside of the lease dollars. The consumables, Caleb then invoices us for an amount, and that's outside that $20,000. So those things that we know will happen on a regular basis, and then the course fee for any materials, hard materials, metal, and that's to make the stuff that is not going to change out. Yes, he just bills us based on use. So
that's all in addition to the 13,000.
yeah, 13 is just purely space. The rest we invoiced on, and then they work. And then Caleb also gets a contract for the extra work that we're asking him to do, coordinating efforts with our instructor. Those are all established as of last year as well. But I would say we should reconvene as a group post course in May, when we have more foresight into the future, and work a little bit more now that we would hopefully have 2 years under our belt, assuming we do get our numbers where we need them to be moving forward.
Will you guys not offer it if you don't get 10 kids?
So that is the question. We're more like an incubator through the School of Outreach. The business department is fully on it now, and so we're just it's a couple of conversations through different people, and we have different approaches at the college. That's how we do it. So I'd like to see that us go whether I didn't get that answer yet today, where that sweet spot is. Normally it's default to 10, but with a course like this where we don't have 20 or 25, we would never go that many on a course like this. I want to know where that sweet spot is. We might be at that sweet spot and everything's already to go. So I can keep communication lines open with everyone, but we know exactly where we're at as soon as
Someone would like to make a motion and include the catastrophic.
You just approve the addition, motion to approve contingent upon the addition of a recovery for equipment loss or failure. Should equipment loss or failure happen, that it is that Western covers expense to repair or replace. Sound fair.
It can draft off some language, so we make sure we have it right. Agreed upon.
They would obviously have to agree on it too. It's just, I think it would feel a lot better if we had that. Chances that happen. Pretty slim, but just in case.
Then you have that down. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Seconded, to make that motion. Is there any more discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Ryan.
I appreciate it. I know it is a difficult decision. I appreciate your guidance, and I'll follow up with some language that we can make sure it is agreeable to both parties.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, action.
6.1 work the same.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Okay. Start with your report then.
Okay, so 6.1 is Bridge Health Insurance Trust. And you see, I had a short little narrative there. I've also asked Ashley to join us out tonight from Mountain View Insurance. She's really helped us in the consulting capacity on this, and it's been changed again today. And it's just, we got an email today on some things. Not all of this is what's reported here is accurate email. But we did get some quotes on 3 plans. It's roughly a 7% decrease in the premium cost. Now, some of the deductibles fluctuated, some went up, some went down. Overall, it looks like there could be some cost savings. And we're still kind of working through this. And this is more of an update than anything else. One of the big hangups is it's a 5-year commitment. That's written into the law, though. That's what our legislators wanted to ensure the viability of the trust. They felt like they made it any shorter of a term that people might get scared and jump ship. So I can understand the logic in doing it. You either join or you don't. If you join, you got to stick with it to make sure that the trust survives. So that was one of the drawbacks. The other thing would be that there was a run-out clause. So technically, language in the contract or in the agreements said that after the 3rd year, so 1 year 4, you could leave the trust. However, you have to pay out run-out fees. What that means is any claim that you incurred during that term, the district will be responsible for covering. Well, guess what? As of today, that's apparently gone too. Maybe. And this is why I've asked for Ashley to come in as backup as somebody who does this for a living, is more well versed than myself. So she can kind of explain a little bit, maybe to add to what's going on. I did reach out. I had Angela Rykop, our art teacher, sit in on one of the meetings, Zoom meetings that I had with representatives from the trust, so the VFT could be informed. I've also been in email communication with John, and they do have 3 members of an insurance committee. And I thought it might be wise as a board, and I mentioned this to Gary, consider a couple board members being willing to sit down and discuss this so we can make an informed decision. We don't have a long time to wait to make a decision, but we do have some time. I should also mention that within the past 2 weeks, we've started to see some dominoes fall. East Helena has agreed to join. Whitehall has agreed to join. Livingston has agreed to join. Shields Valley, they're considering January. And so we're starting to see some pieces fall. No AA, to my knowledge, has decided to yet. However, I should also explain that the AAs are in a tier of their own. They're in a separate tier. Everybody A and under is in a different tier. And so it's that separate tier that we're starting to see other school districts, comparable districts join. The ones that got my attention the most was East Helena with Dan Reskins. I haven't known him very long, but a few times I had maybe heard him speak. He's pretty impressive. He knows his stuff. He asks the right kind of questions. And so that got my attention. More so than that was Whitehall, because their superintendent, I forget her name, is it Hannah?
And
Hannah sits on the board of public ed. So that got my attention. And so I just wanted to be able to kind of give you an update and share, but Ashley, you want to kind of provide a little bit of a summary of the roller coaster and some of the questions that we still have. I mean, there's a lot of risk out there still. And so I am surprised that some of these districts jumping when technically we have probably until the February board meeting to make a decision if we really wanted to wait that long.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Just something, I just want to be very clear. I am not 100% for the trust, but I'm not 100% against it either. Of course, I want something like this to work. It is important for you to understand the 5-year commitment does not guarantee anything either. So if you sign a 5-year commitment, your renewal is not capped. Okay, that's nowhere in the agreements, nor can it be. Because this first year, each individual school was rated on their own. So they took our plans, our rates, because we're age rated, so we don't have claims that they're rating on. So they took our plans and our rates and came up with something to give us rates. That's how it was. School district number 10 is different. Sheridan Schools is different. Twin Bridges Schools is different. Okay. The pooling concept of a trust does not come into play until year 1 and 2. Okay, so we're not pooled with anybody yet. It has been a little bit of a roller coaster in trying to get things answered, because what has been said in the agreements has also been not said or said on a phone call in a different way. So it's been a challenge to get some things in writing. When it's been said on phone calls of webinars, which agents are not on webinars, so with the schools or anything, it's always the trust directly with the school or a group of schools and superintendents. So we don't know what's said on the calls. We only know what we get in writing. As of 9:45 a.m. this morning, a message came out that if you are to leave the trust, you won't be responsible for paying run out claims, which that was in the agreement that said that you would be responsible for that. And it is still in the agreement in which you guys signed for 5 years. So I have issues with that because I want you guys to sign an agreement that's absolutely correct. But we do have it in writing. There will not be any run out claims for those medical expenses incurred if you are to leave the trust. Important to know that if you do jump in, want to leave the trust, you have to give 6 months notice as well. And from a health insurance perspective too, I am not able to get rates 6 months out ahead for a group of our size. Okay, so something to consider there. Just kind of keep think about.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Absolutely.
Before we move on, yeah, because this has happened this morning. So because the run out clause was law. That was part of the law that the legislators.
Yeah.
And so when I was reading the explanation that how can we do this? Because we're building it into your quote, right?
Yeah.
So if they built it into our quote, that's what confused me. Does that change, or is that part of it we didn't know it? Does it sound like it's part of it we didn't know it?
Correct. It is part of it. And so this is where so kind of backing up, you'd be put into a level funded product, which is a different product than what we are in right now. And within that level funded product, run out is usually built in, but it is marked on there as specific stop loss that Josh and I talked about, which I can go into if anybody has questions, but I'll get really insurance geeky. But the run out is supposed to be built into that premium. And that was a question of mine the whole time. But again, I have to go with what is written because they have been very not sharing a ton of information. Okay, until recently, because I believe agents are questioning, schools are questioning, diving more into the agreements. So it was already built into there. So by them putting that run out clause in the agreement, saying that you would be responsible for those if you leave the trust, they essentially were charging you that twice. So apparently somebody really caused a stink about it. So it is built into the legislature, but it's already covered in your plan. the way I'm understanding it from his memo today. So. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry, excuse me, I wouldn't worry about the run-out claims, because we do have that in writing, I guess. I would like to see updated agreements before you sign, if that is something that you would like to do. I think it's important to know that it is talked about the $40 million backstop. Okay, that is what is all, what people have talked about, what everybody hears. I really think it's important to know that with 150 school districts, 12,000 just employees, that averages out about $3,333 in claims per person. Okay, so just kind of 40 million is wonderful. It's great. It's great to have that. But if they actually validate with the amount of employees, that's not even, families or spouses or anything. That's just employees. So you take that number double, that 3,300 goes in half again too. So that money could be out in 6 to 9 months. And then kind of where does that come with your premiums, trying to get those?
Ask a quick question. Do
Yes.
they reinsure large claims so it doesn't go over a certain dollar?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah. So they do have the specific stop loss. It's set at 600K. So it is high. But also important to know that stop loss premium is included in the health insurance premium too. So if we're continually hitting that 600 stop loss, that's just going to make that stop loss premium go up as well as our premiums too. So I'm not saying that it can't work, because that is a good one. So I think that was the 40,000 for the school. So anything under 40,000 hits our claims. Anything over 40 then goes to the stop loss on the trust. Yep. 40,000 was pretty high.
A little high. I was hoping.
Yeah.
I did hear back from Jude today, so he is open to scheduling a meeting. And we can get to that, because I'd like for it to be like the whole committee there, so everybody can ask questions, and then we can hide to ask. We just want to put you in the camera. Speed his questions. Because we were thinking, well, I wonder, is that negotiable? Get that down some, and do you want to talk a little bit about the they built in $25
okay.
per employee per month.
So when they originally came out, everything it talked about that if you choose to work with an agent, it would be a line item added to your invoice on a agreed upon amount. Okay. So nowhere in the agreements or in their correspondence, I mean, I have emails listing what it said. Did it have like a per employee per month or a percentage amount that an agent would get? Well, it came out in a couple of phone calls that there's $25 per employee per month built in as an agent fee. And so I played phone tag with John Doran a few times, and finally I just actually had another school submit my questions because he would not get back to me. So I did clear that up and get that in writing. So there is a $25 per employee per month fee built into the rates already to continue to work with an agent. So that's good. Like that's great.
So would you be our agent?
So I would continue to be your agent.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. I would continue to be your agent. And that was never really a question for me, but we are, as agents, we're responsible for disclosing that. And what I was calculating and what was actually built in, which we were not told it was built in, and still, again, the agreement does not have that in there. It says something completely, totally different. Was a huge, it's a sticking point. But now we figured this out, so I think that's good. That's kind of a moot point now. But again, wasn't sure if that was going to the broker on the trust, because that was not disclosed either, because there is a broker on the trust, USI. But I do have it in writing that he's being paid out of your admin costs. So there is built in for him too. As far as what amount that is, I do not know. But yeah, so that's built into the rates. I just want you guys to know.
And we could, look, I asked, we could negotiate. I mean, it's got the $25 built in, we could pay her more, I think we were paying her more. Because when we had tried to figure out, because was it 5% before?
Yeah,
And so when they did the math, and I didn't do it with them, I just let them do it. It came up to like $71 per employee per month. And that's where we arrived at that 7%. So there's potential for maybe more savings if we negotiate. I mean, if we went to 25, there's gonna be a lot of savings. I don't know if that's fair to Ashley though, so I just wanted to be transparent and mention that here. But I think we should be fair to somebody that's giving us guidance and good consulting. And so I just wanted to make that known in the public meeting that I think we should consider that going forward. So none of these numbers are accurate right now.
yeah. I would say the numbers aren't accurate. That's been one thing too. Because I've gone back and asked for, not with this school district, but other school districts have asked for different plans or like their whole plan. They have 12 plans, I believe, and just what the rates would be. Because schools are like, well, what if we want to change our plan? Well, when those rates come back to me, they're different than the issued rates. And on the phone, they say that rates are final. In the proposal, the rates are not final. So we get very different. It's really hard to decipher what is true and what is not true. I do want to share the good part of the trust. One thing that could be a potential for us, just depending on how our claims run, you would be put in a level funded product. So a level funded product is kind of a stepping stone to self-funding. We were actually with Cigna in a level funded product, I think in 20, oh, right here. In 2022, and it didn't go well. But anyway, it does allow you to earn back in what's left in your claims bucket at the end of the year. I can put you in level funded on your own too. So just don't, be aware of that as well. But how it works for those people who don't maybe know, your health insurance premium is made up essentially of three things: administrative costs, stop loss policy, and then claims funding. Okay. So at the end of the year, right now with our plan, since we're fully insured, if there's money left over in our claims funding bucket, which we don't know if there is, but if there's money left over, the insurance company keeps that because they've taken on all of the risk. Moving to level funded puts a little risk on the school as well. So if there's money left in that claims bucket at the end of the year, the school can share back in some of that money. The trust will give you 60% of that money paid over 3 years, which that is different as well. If you go on level funding on your own, it's usually 50%, but you get it that year as long as you renew. Okay, so it's paid over that 33 years, 50% the first, 30 the second, and 20 the third. If year one you get a surplus, year two you're in a deficit, you don't get a surplus, they said they're still going to pay that out.
Found that out from other districts last time.
I did. Yep. I think I sent it to you. It was a very I think he's very irritated with me. His response was very, he told me I was not correct and pointed it out in the proposal overview, but where he told me to look, it does not say that. So anyway. Anything else? Like any questions I get? I mean, like I said, I'm not for it, I'm not against it. The 5-year thing has me really scared.
So I make sure I know. We will have 1 year quote, but there's no guarantee years 2 through 5. There's no escalator. Right? It could go up 30%.
Correct.
Okay.
Now they say it's tied in where they're selling it. Someone come from a perspective of somebody that's a little bit, but not like Roxanne and Ashley though, is that it's tied to Medicare. So it's capped at 3%, but that's not. But then you add in the utilization piece, and that's where it can increase. If you want to kind of mention that or?
Can I ask one quick question to Ashley? So after year one, obviously they're rated on their own, basically age rating right now. Do they look at any medical conditions or is it primarily just age rated, right?
I don't even think they ran like the prescription data.
Okay,
I honestly think they took the rates and tried to beat them.
okay, that's, okay.
That's,
So at the end of this year, when it becomes more rated with the trust, then are they being lumped in with everybody then that sits in the trust so that it has in
in
theory,
theory.
a way to level out those premiums?
Yes.
Is that how it works? And
Yeah,
there's two.
so it'll be within a tier. So
Okay.
there's two
If-
tiers within the trust. We'll be in tier one because we're under 100 enrolled. And so we'll be lumped in with everyone in tier one.
And do we know how many people have committed to that are in tier one at this point?
No, I'm 4, maybe.
Yeah.
That I know of.
How many do they, how
Don't spend many.
many do they have to add to the?
150 school districts and 12,000 employees.
Between both tiers.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, but-
Correct. Missoula voted 99% no. One person voted yes. It goes in front of the school board on the 16th. So that very well could change, but I mean, normally school boards do, but insurance committees, superintendents want. Billings voted no. So those are two very large ones. These are just the ones that of agents that I know work with. Hamilton was undecided, but their meeting got pretty hot, I guess. In not a good way. Mr. Dorn was very questioned and he did not like that. As far as those schools that I work with, no one has committed. And I work with 7 schools. They're all small. They'd all be in your tier. So,
If we didn't join this year, can you join the next year?
yes.
Then
So
would it be for 4 years or would it still be for 5?
every time you get in, it's a 5-year commitment.
Okay.
The rates that were presented, again, who knows what those rates are? I mean, unfortunately, would still be good if we wanted to join at our renewal.
I did ask, is like, there any penalty if we join after? Of course, if they get to 12,000, you know that, then it's like, yeah, it sounds a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
Without a doubt.
they did, of course, they said, we want you to join now, but yes, you could, that's what they said on the video call. That we could join later. So again, there's not any real sense of urgency. Maybe it's a conjured sense of urgency, maybe. So I do think that we have time to really consider this. I don't think that we really have to kind of rush this. And then there again, that's why I propose that we do like an insurance committee, have a couple trustees on it, and have meetings between the 2 or 3 BFT members and the trustees, and maybe with Ashley there, so we can kind of sit down and ask these questions bridged and get them answered and see if we can really get something down on paper that we can bring back maybe to the board a January meeting, and have a more discussion with some actual figures that are real, not evolving a couple days.
Any idea what we're looking at for increases in our current plan?
So I did run the numbers as of January 1. Obviously, you're age rated, so ages could change everything. And I believe I didn't print that page out because we kind of quit talking about it. But I think it was it a 6% increase. I think it was under a 10% increase. But it could change. But again, after we got the 100% increase from MUST, I did not quote you level funded the last 2 years because MUST is claims rated and that told me that claims weren't good. So let's do what we can for now. But we could look at level funding on your own. When you guys did it back in 2022, Cigna was the only option. Now we have Blue Cross Blue Shield has a Blue Balance funded option that we can do, which is level funding. And then there is an option through United Healthcare that has come into play as well. And United Healthcare has really, their networks are looking really good too. So there are options. Those options I probably could get after the first of the year. I can ask, so we could see that. Age rated, I wouldn't be able to get until probably April and how their rating system works. Does that answer your question without answering it fully?
Yep. I do think, like Josh said, it's probably a good idea to form a committee. It's kind of we talked about it in negotiations last year. Phil and Roxanne and I have been on the negotiations committee and visited with the union negotiating committee. Insurance is a major thing. The board has a say in it, but yet at the same time, it's the employees' insurance. They kind of are the ones that I feel have the final vote, maybe. Is there anyone that would like to serve on the committee? Committed out.
I'll say full disclosure, Ashley is our bank. She's our agent, and she moved us to level funded. We're a 1-1, we're moving to level funded, and it's saving us, she can tell you the percentage, but significantly from, we were age rated before. It's significantly saving us. What was the percentage? Quite a bit less.
Yeah, 8% increase, I think.
And we were projecting a 20% in 19 points.
Did you change your benefits a ton with that though, Phil?
We made them better.
Better.
Yeah, I think you absolutely have to look at that. I think you do. There is some value in pooling with other, schools, but if there's just so many unknowns, that's the challenge with that. But I think that it makes complete sense to at least look at it, if that's something you could do.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Gary. I think ultimately the staff, the teachers,
Kind of the ones that have to make the decision.
they need to decide what they can live with.
Then we as a board can decide how much of a contribution we can make.
Yeah.
Zoom, Roxanne. You seem to know a lot about it and value your opinion.
Are you
Is
interested?
that an Amy sigh?
Heard you though.
I think Lori would be excellent. She got an insurance back.
Or you can always participate by Zoom too, so maybe move them on the way out. Any way we could make it easier. I'd love to have some feedback you can give us. It's a big decision.
It is. The 5 years scares the heck out of me.
Well, and the trust gap that I hear being talked about is, that's real.
I think the biggest problem is the rollout of this has been almost catastrophic. I don't think it's.
Without a doubt.
Hard to be,
Yeah.
it's always hard to be close.
I think it was intentional, like, it can be intentionally misleading, but that's the kind of feeling you get.
Right.
But the legislature didn't set them up for success very well because they only hired John. And John just brought on one more person. So it's two gentlemen doing this whole thing for the entire state.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine trying to pull that
They
off.
rolled it out before they were ready to go.
They absolutely do too, because the university system has we have our some self-funded, all the units are in one self-funded group. And the state of Montana is the same way. And so there's a model they could look to. It's just that it's getting the masses to join it as the challenge, I think.
And it's important to know too, like our carrier option is Allegiance, which is really good in the state. They're owned by Cigna. So they're really good. They went with a pharmacy benefit manager that none of us agents have heard of.
That's who this is through?
Yes,
Is through Allegiance.
Allegiance. Blue Cross and Pacific Source and United Healthcare chose not to bid. They were not comfortable.
That's an impact to them.
Yeah. I mean, Allegiance, that's what they do. But yeah, and I kind of have a problem with the pharmacy benefit manager just because Cigna is a huge pharmacy benefit manager. So why, if Cigna owns Allegiance and they always work together, why were they not chosen? And they chose Capital RX that, I mean, I have agent friends. I mean, I've only been doing this for almost 11 years, but I still have agent friends at other agencies and nobody's ever heard of them. So as far as like pharmacy, if somebody came to me about specialty, I would have no idea. I mean, I do research, obviously, but I'm just not comfortable with it yet because I don't know. So I think I always kind of explain to Josh, I'm like, I just feel like there's question marks everywhere. And I mean, I've read through the agreements and highlighted, but then they come back with an email that says something completely different than the agreement. Do you know if East Helena was with Must before?
Maybe so.
Okay, so a lot of schools that are committee are currently with Must because Must has come out and said they will go away. So those schools, and Must oftentimes has schools direct, so they don't work like a school down the road does not work with an agent. They work with Must direct. So if I was that school, I'd be like, I'm signing because how do I know where to go?
Sure.
Yeah, you feel you have nothing to do. So I think it's the schools that have agents that agents are questioning because there's a lot of language that sticks out to us. So
I just think it's bad business to sign a 5-year commitment
Me too.
with no caps. With no cap. I refuse, in my world, I refuse to sign any 5-year agreement that doesn't have caps for every year.
Yeah.
Well, they can throw out 25% on you as a year 3 or whatever, and you're not responsible for stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah.
This gets bad.
Yeah, I agree.
My gut reaction to begin with.
Yeah.
So some of my
That's how
people
it
started
starts.
jumping in and I was like, wait a minute.
Just something shady about that.
Well, caught my attention.
And we as a group have kind of felt that way from the get-go.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think it something could be really beneficial for the
so I
school
think it's a
districts.
great idea.
It's just not. Right.
So who's on the committee from the union, Angela Wasco? and who-
No, it's Brett Nordahl, Jeff Kozlowski, and I believe it's Jason Green.
Oh, okay.
They just had elections again this year. and Those are the 3 names that John gave. Does that sound right, Paige?
I think so.
did they draw the short straw?
Well, Rick was already in there, so Brett just got upgraded. He had no choice.
Jason replaced this and
Yeah, he's meetings and he's in.
Oh, sorry, you got this.
You would be willing to try to help with it? Okay. Anybody else interested? Okay. What's that?
University's insurance committee, and we're just going through that right now too. So I will say yes, with the caveat that depending on when the meetings are. So I have.
You said we come up with, and it was, but Ashley's talking to you about.
Okay.
I think that's all we can do, and we'll give it a shot and see. And
Yeah. We're just going through this, starting all this stuff.
As long as we have somebody, if Lori can help us, then,
Yeah.
yeah.
Lori will be great.
yeah, you two would be excellent.
So I think it originally came out that said it would need to be validated by December 19th. So we've been hearing that that's not actually the date, so I will be curious to see what happens on December 19th. If it is validated, obviously they'll be like, yay, we're off and running, and then we can wait to make our decision when we're renewing. If December 19th comes out and they extend it, they are not validated. So just kind of, or July 1.
So they said, the superintendent meeting that I was on, if they could wait, I want to say it was March 1st news, their drop deadline for validation.
But again, that was said,
Yeah.
not in writing. Everything in writing says December 9th.
Have a tough time getting up.
It was November, yeah.
Sign up, that's not gonna happen. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for,
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you for bringing help with all this, and
of course.
trying to explain it. Did a good job.
Thank you.
See you. You received the superintendent report?
Yes,
So moving on to some more pleasurable topics of discussion. All right. Last year's ACT performance, got some good news there. Milligan School Data, they completed a complimentary review of our ACT scores and compared them to some of the other Class A's in the state. And what they found was that of 29 comparable Class A districts, that we ranked number one in average math score, number one in average science score, and fifth in average English language arts score. That's total ACT score. They also determined that we ranked second in percentage of students with a score of proficient or above in science, fifth in percentage of students with a score of proficient or above in math, and 12th in percentage of students with a score of proficient or above in the English language arts. So pretty good scores overall, but with some room for improvement, especially in the part about percentage of students proficient or above, and especially in ELA. We are our strong core academics right now are definitely math and science, which may kind of fall in line with the makeup of our county community. We're largely agrarian-based community, a lot of hands-on field work. So science and math aren't that we're strong in that doesn't surprise me so much. The ELA is what I think I'm going to focus on with the staff, maybe as we move into the next school year. We also got an award, Montana Youth Court Service here. Brought that with me today. The 5th Judicial Youth Court has recognized us for our tutoring program. Now that tutoring program is made possible in large part by the financial grant we received from the 5th Judicial Youth Court. We've received $6,000 from them this year. It helps fund in large part our tutoring program. We have tutoring during the noon hour, lunch hour, every Tuesday and Thursday. And if you are failing a class, it's required that you go a core class. So that's math, science, English, and history. If you're in core class, you have to go to tutoring during lunch. However, anybody can attend voluntarily, which we do have a fair number of students take advantage of. So really, any student can go to tutoring during lunch hour should they wish to. And those that are failing a core class, we require them to go. So, and if not, there are consequences, progressive consequences if they skip tutoring. So very proud of that program. Any questions so far? Moving right along. My Four Rivers monthly superintendent meeting. So I'm a part of what they call the Four Rivers region. So that's our regional superintendents group. And a couple of big things they mentioned, some federal stuff. So on the legislation, Federal Department of Education, you probably heard in the national news, they've begun to break up the department and shift some of those programs to other departments. Important to us is the transfer of the title program to the Department of Labor. So for us, we received about roughly $80,000 in funding for our title program. We have what is called a targeted title program. That means that less than 40% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. So that's kind of our socioeconomics numbers there. And so because we fall under that threshold, we qualify for targeted, not school-wide. Some of the free and reduced lunch numbers kind of play hand in hand with that. Now that number has decreased over the years. I've been in education for a long time, and it's one of those programs that you never see funding increase with title. It always seems to decrease. But still, it's a significant amount for us. It funds our Skills Lab program and at least one full-time classified person and another part-time classified person should run that title skills lab program. So that's just something something to be aware of as we move forward. I'm not sure how that's going to change it, how that shift may not affect it at all. As long as we have funding, then I don't care where they shift the department to or the program to, but because they are doing that, I have questions like, well, is the program leadership still intact? Because they're the one that's used to running that, or is it all new people? Because that could delay payments of funding. So things like that are some of the topics of conversation at that meeting. The next is the House of Representatives. They have a bill out right now to slash the Small Rural Schools Achievement Grant. That's SRSA, if not eliminate it altogether. And so we received approximately $29,000 in that Small Rural Schools Achievement Grant each year. This year's, we just at our past board meeting, I asked the board approved to use those funds to pay for some technology infrastructure repairs and upgrades. Well, if that funding goes away, it's going to be hard to continue to do that, considering we don't have a very sizable tech levy. So when I'm looking around for flexibilities in revenue and in funds, that was one of the ones that I had like, okay, we can use this, we can piece and patch it together and get some technology stuff done. That goes away, that's going to become increasingly more challenging to do. So that's just something to kind of be aware of that we're looking at. I think one of the bills right now calls to fund that program at 25% of current levels. And another bill is calling to eliminate it completely. So just something to be aware of, since we're a largely rural state, that'll affect every school district, nearly every school district in Montana, if that grant program were to go away.
Josh, where we ran the technology levy last year and it failed, and we run it again this year, or was that just a one-time shot we had left? We
could, but I wouldn't advise it. I just think the political climate right now is not quite right.
No, I agree.
Here's another thing to think about. Based off recent legislation, if you run a new technology grant, there's a sunset clause to all these grants now.
Yeah.
Any voter approved levy that's not permissive, that's where we can assess these meals upon the voter without their permission. That's a permissive levy. So a voted levy where you have to ask permission, there's a sunset clause, only 10 years. I think it's the same for higher ed, isn't it?
It's a different type of thing that sunsets that we have to do every 10 years.
So if we did get it one passed, it would sunset in 10 years and we'd have to ask again. Whereas the 50,000 we have right now, it's not much, but it helps. That was grandfathered in.
Right.
And so we have that in perpetuity as long as we replace it with a sunset. So if we did get one approved, we would lose the 50,000. Right. So there's some pros and cons to it. So I really wouldn't want to.
We're gonna have trouble passing it, I think.
Yeah, I think we'd have trouble passing it. And so I don't know if now's the right climate to do that. I think I'd wait a little bit longer. They say next year's going to be a good year. And if the economy picks up and things are going well, and we'll see what our state does in terms of taxes and property taxes and things like that, it may look better going into that 26-27 school year. Consider it the.
Is there an opportunity to just start to do more communication and education about our current circumstances and some of the gaps? And here's some of the things we're doing. So we're working with it and we're doing all this stuff, but helping people understand, as opposed to now the levy's coming and here we're going to inundate you with information in 2 weeks or a month. I mean,
yeah, they need to be educated as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the schools there's only a few schools that were successful in passing the levy this past year. I think of the two that I heard that did, they had 6 months campaigns. They started 6 months before and just campaigned on it the entire time. Held lots of community meetings, and that's kind of how they grow it. Something to think about with what we're doing.
It's a good idea.
Staff vacancies. Well, we're going to have at some point we need to go back to the consent. I guess we hadn't got to consent agenda item. So when we get there will be a recommendation to hire a custodial candidate. Carlos Fuentes. So when we get there, if the board moves to hire that individual for that custodial position, we'll have all our positions that need filled, which we do not. It's innovative educational tax credit season. So make sure you're talking to your friends and loved ones, partners and colleagues and business, because all Montanans receive a dollar credit on their state income tax for donations made to BCHS. Now it opens on a statewide first come first served basis. Donations will be due to the business office on January 20th of this year. Excuse me, well, of the coming year, January 20th. The funding cap is 7.2 million this year. So instead of giving your tax dollars to the state, you can give it to BCHS and we'll make a lot better use of it. Make sure to share that information. There's also there's some of that information in your board packet as well. You'll see that kind of behind my report, along with the Milligan School data stuff and the some of the
Josh, are you opposed to, if there are people we're having conversations with that do something, but they want to support something specific? For example, the potential of this SRSA funding going away. Oh my gosh, you share that information. Would you consider, making a donation that would help offset that? Are you opposed to having specific conversations, not you per se, but if we choose to have a conversation with somebody, that they can support something specifically that's technology related? Sometimes that is an easier sell to people than they think, well, I'm just going to give you this blanket amount of money. If you know what some of your technology needs are, those conversations can be had with people. I know that Paul did a really good job of coming in forward with some of the challenges that he has and how he's going to do this technology audit, which sounds really cool. But what's that going to cost? Is that technology?
That's part of that really $19,000 and change that we agreed that we use of SRSA funding for K-12 Montana. So
Okay,
the
perfect.
first step was the technology audit. I'm hoping that report should be ready by the January board meeting. I can present that at that time, which will be before the deadline for the, actually, we think we moved to the 19th, didn't we?
Yes.
So I may have to get the information to you as soon as I get it, just so you can start having those conversations, because that audit will reveal what our needs are.
That would be super helpful, because people actually, I think when you can have a conversation with them about specific needs and not just this, let's give them X amount of money and where's it going to go? What's it going to, I had conversations with some people last year that, oh yeah, such and such school district did that and they bought uniforms. Yeah, they really bought uniforms, but that's the perception, is that those funds were used for not the technology aspect of it. So just giving us a little bit more information would be helpful to have those conversations. Yeah.
Tell you one right now, one of the pieces we talked about that I know is going to be in technology audit anyway, is the fact that because we have our campus is very mixed, we have a very, very new building and two very old buildings. So our main building and the BW Lodge use the same PA systems. They communicate very well.
Right.
But it's almost like an analog type. We've got some patches here and there, whereas the ACE, it's brand new. We have to use two separate PA systems. And so you have to hold two phones, almost like somebody's seen a movie, and you're talking to both at the same time. Also, our bells are off a little bit. And I did get Paul worked on it, and they were almost 2 full minutes off. So the bells would ring here, and 2 minutes later, they'd ring at the ASIC. We got that. I knew there had to be a way to fix that. Paul was able to work with some of the technology, the companies that provided us that hardware, and got that down to about 10 seconds. So it's better than it was, but it's still delayed. And so that's one thing we're going to have to do is there's a patch, there's a way to work around that to upgrade our PA system where all the buildings on one communicates everything at the same time. It's a safety issue as well.
Yeah. See, those are really good talking points to have with people. If you had something specific, safety, like just having some of that information and what that's would cost would be really helpful.
So I'll get that audited out to you when it comes, and I'll try to maybe provide a little narrative along with it.
Perfect.
Just a paragraph for each thing that they come out with, so you can kind of provide some context to what that is and what it means.
That'd be great.
All right, so after the innovative educational tax credit, we've got information from Dan McGee. He's not here with us tonight, but he did provide some information he wanted me to share. And so that's our request for qualification has been published. That ends Friday. So we hope to have some candidates, some submissions in this Friday to review. At that time, Dan will contact me and we'll organize the facility committee and we'll begin reviewing candidates from those submissions. At which point we'll select finalists and have those finalists submit a request for proposal or RFP. And then once we get those RFPs in, we'll begin conducting interviews and selecting further finalists. We should be able to, if all goes well, according to Dan, recommend a general contractor construction manager for hire at the January board meeting. And so again, in the pages following my report, there is a document there from Building Mind and Body. It's a 2-page document, kind of goes a little more into detail on right now. And essentially, again, we're just waiting on those submittals, those qualification submittals.
I haven't talked to him for a while. Does he have any idea how many people are going to apply?
He hadn't shared that with me. Hoping it's fair number so we can have some good competition. We'll know soon. Again, the deadline for submission is Friday. Any questions on ACE building repair project update? Okay, at the last meeting, the board also asked me to look into the YMCA transportation agreement because it did sunset December 6th, which was a couple days ago. And so I reached out to Todd Rouse, and he explained to me that they're not going to need any transportation for Y until probably June. So what I'll do is I'll just circle back with him in April and start working on that then. And so to make sure his insurance gets renewed, we get a new MOU, the dates that will meet the needs for the Y. So that's kind of where we're at there. And then lastly, just kind of my December schedule to date. And that's all I've got. Any questions?
Do we know what the JCs did this year? Has anybody said or heard anything?
That's pretty.
Are they doing it through the problem system? We don't have to worry about that this year. That's good.
Buses donated by the YMCA, yes.
JC's help fund for the
The JCs on.
good. Oh.
Thank you.
All right, so here's
Go ahead, I already called on you once when you finished. You're free to take the floor, Rob.
So I just wanted to show you kind of our weekly and monthly attendance. It is talking a little bit, but that is consistent with holidays and kind of the way vacations at about this time of year is. And so it usually does get stronger, our attendance as a year. This is the regular order gets filled before, once area gets heavy, it stays heavy. Parties then followed by the defiance, disrespect, and then cell phones that actually that move up. Some form of double this past month, previous. This is interesting information. It's not on here, but I'm just going to talk about it real quick. The RVHI health screening that we did a month ago. Just kind of the results. So we got about 300 and some students that were tested. And of those, They either test green, which means that they don't have any suicidality, anxiety, or depression. Or yellow, which means they have a little bit of concern. Or if they're red, then they have, it's because they've had the past recurrent suicidality thoughts. And the way it broke down is there was, looks like 17 were in red, about 5% of the students. And so what happens is the day of that screening, we get the results back immediately. Miss Rouse goes in, talks to those students, talks to parents, make sure that they have kind of a plan in place. I think 2 of them went and talked to the RBHI healthcare providers. 5 of them already had services in place. They already had a counselor. They saw their sling rate and everything. So, like the parents and set up another meeting and get the services just to make sure that there wasn't anything immediate. And then 3 more were on medication, also seeing somebody or were exited from their this that kind of information. And then 13 were in the yellow range. And the way it works is usually not that first day, but then the second or third day after screening, Ms. Rouse talks to those students, talks to the parents, make sure that they're just not give you a little update on the results of that. And so then next week she will go into the freshman classes, PE, kind of do the SOS, it's called Silent Suicide, kind of talk through with students that they kind of do a little, it's called ACT, knowledge, care, and then need be. So she'll go through that program. And it kind of goes in line with Health Squad and what they do too. So we kind of get again more angles.
Are you surprised by this one?
I thought the rate was higher than it has been past. The good thing is the majority already had people that they're so it wasn't, parents were surprised. We might have been.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions for Ryan? If not, we'll go into the activity director's report.
Make this quick. We just kicked off our winter season with the basketball program. 27 participants this year. First games will be this December 19th and 20th. We host kind of east-west crossover tip-off. Girls basketball, 20 participants on the team this year. Those are our first games for girls basketball will be the home games. Will be December 19th and 20th. Boys and girls wrestling, we're at 28 participants, 15 boys, 13 girls. They started last week. We hosted Anaconda on last Thursday. If you get a chance, pretty fun to come watch. It's pretty exciting with the boys and the girls wrestling. Got a lot of people showing up to those events. It's just been fun. So if you want to break down, I have a breakdown of the previous numbers. We're all kind of in line with where we have been in the past. The cheer program is 16 student athletes with 15 girls and 1 boy. And then I just attached to the bottom, if you're interested in that tip-off schedule. Really looking forward to hosting a tournament in town. So get basketball and then wrestling later in the winter. Any questions?
How do they work the boys and girls wrestling? I haven't been for a couple of years. Do they run two mats at once, or do they do a boys match and the girls match? Or how
It
does
just depends on how many we have. So like on Thursday for us, we did the girls dueled anacondas. We had enough to basically run a duel, and then our boys after kind of flip it back and forth, and just depends on numbers. If it's we can run two mats or one, but
Great. Anybody have any questions for Brock?
Should be a really good boys, girls basketball tournament.
yeah, it's gonna be
Good
great.
teams.
Yeah. So you look at the state tournament last year, it's everyone's here, so that's exciting.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Brock. Next then is our consent agenda item, I guess. Josh?
Consideration and possible action to hire Carlos Fuentes as a custodian. This will be our second full-time custodian. It's in the main building here. And also do, I believe, part of the ACE building. Instead, bring us up to fully staffed into our custodial part. Make that recommendation.
Second.
Is moved and seconded. To hire Carlos Fuentes as the new custodian. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimous. Okay, action items.
All right, 10.1, we have board consideration and possible action to approve the pre-employment transition services, also known as pre-ETS, contract with the Montana Vocational Rehabilitation and Blind Services. So I put a copy of the, and I pulled it out of the packet, sent it separately. It's such a top contract. But I kind of want to explain essentially the nuts and bolts of what that is. I'd hoped that Deanna was going to be here tonight to speak to the board about what the program is. She was unable to make it. And so I'm going to kind of give you the nuts and bolts of what the program is. It's up to $50,000 of funding that we could receive or we could tap into for students with student special needs or disabilities, or job exploration, or work-based learning opportunities, for counseling on transition programs or post-secondary programs, for workplace readiness training and independent living training, and self-advocacy skills. The contract will begin upon signing, once everyone is signed, and would end September 30th of next year. So if approved, the goal this year would just be to go through and identify all the students that would qualify and begin doing an interest inventory with each of those students to see what types of these qualifying activities we could or should provide to them. So I see it as a benefit. At first, I've been in programs before, but I've never really looked into it in other districts where we had the pre-ETS program. You know, a long time ago, when they were fully staffed, they would just come on as an addition. And so it didn't require any of my staff or our staff members to participate. It was a supplemental program. Well, what's happened is, like many other programs and organizations, they become short-staffed. And so what I've seen in the more recent years, even dating back before COVID, is that they've been essentially hiring one of the school district staff members to do the work for them and just funding for it. So it's additional funding for work that's specifically tailored to students' special needs or disabilities to help prepare them for life after high school, whether that's independent living, working in some kind of job or career, or even post-secondary. And so some of the things we're doing already, it's just additional funding we could use for that. I don't see us using a ton of funding for it this year because it's something that we have to plan and prep for. I do have the support of Gary Tilton on this. He was a big fan of it back when he was at Williams Twin Bridges, and Michael Hoffman as well, who are our two special ed teachers, if nobody knows. I just see it as a win-win. It's kind of a no-brainer. Additional funding to help students like that We just have to be intentional and plan for it. And I think there's a lot of potential there, especially with, we had recently, a representative from the Department of Labor down to talk to us about some work-based learning opportunities, not specifically targeting our students with special needs or disabilities, but all of our students. So we could also include this portion of our student body as well. Mentioned potentially working with Barrett Hospital and a program that's called REACH, where they get students over to talk about health occupations. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do with a program like this, and I would have full confidence in recommending it to the board. Do you have to answer any questions yet?
People that would have to do this original legwork to get it going, or they feel like they've got the time and energy to do it. Yeah.
Yes, because some of them we're doing already.
Okay.
And so it's being more intentional about it, recording it, documenting it. We're doing some of it. There are several steps. Again, so Gary's the most familiar with it because they did it over in Twin Bridges. And so, in talking with Mike, like he thinks they can, again, get us up to speed this year and really hopefully have a better plan of how to implement the program fully next year.
And as long as the two that are going to be doing the work feel like they can do it, it feels like it's a no-brainer.
That was my biggest concern. Was like, I wanted to detract from your current job.
Correct.
So
Exactly.
if it's not doing that, then I can feel confident supporting it. So it's supposed to provide additional opportunities, access to funding that wouldn't otherwise be there, between field trips and things like that. So I've got a sample. I should read the sample there. There's one from Sample High School. So examples of job exploration counselors could be interest inventories, which we already have built in. We're just not doing all of them in every category. We could do them all. Life skills classes through our family consumer science. Are we doing that? We have students taking that. We're just not documenting it. Looking at apprenticeship programs, classes in CTE departments. Are we doing that? Learning what soft skills are, social skills training, teaching financial literacy classes. So that's just some of the examples. So a lot of it we're already doing.
When we take students up for our job fairs,
Yeah,
either
job
at
fairs.
Tech, or when we come down to Western and do that, with also qualifying activities that.
Absolutely.
So I would make a motion to approve the pre-employment transition services contract with Montana Rehab and Blind Services.
Second.
And moved and seconded to approve the pre-employment transition service contract with the Montana Vocational Rehabilitation and Blind Services. Is there any discussion or question? All those in favor say aye. 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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
Sign that so I can get it back to you. Okay, well, we talked already at 10.2, so we can skip that. I believe we already had motion passed for that. So 10.3, board consideration and possible action to approve the contract / agreements to join the Bridge Health Alliance Trust. My recommendation on that would be to take no action. We feel comfortable with that.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to 10.4. Board consideration and possible action to approve the Advanced Opportunity Grant Report for 2025. This is something that all our CTE, so it's Career and Tech Education teachers worked on. Mr. Igo, Ms. Kim Conan, Jason Truman, Bobby Conan. Those are our CTE teachers for our programs. And Suzanne Valak also played a part in compiling this information. And so that looks like this. If you're looking for it in the board packet, and it's a few pages. It's basically an update on how we're performing currently on our goals for the grant. And this is essentially a grant renewal. So part of the grant renewal, in order for us to get the grant funding for the advanced opportunity next year, is to complete this. Essentially, it's like an annual program review. And so that's what it is. It's a little update on how we're performing. We have a portion there for FFA, a portion there for FCCLA and BPA, which is one of our newer club programs, Business Professionals of America. What we're doing with that funding to provide additional opportunities for our students that wouldn't otherwise have those opportunities, if it wasn't been funded.
So that's something we definitely want to do then, correct?
Yeah, so we're just looking for a motion to approve the report, because this will be submitted to the state. And then Gary has to sign. Sign on the report.
Second.
Then moving second to approve the Advanced Opportunity Grant Report for 2025. Is there any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
And if you're interested, Suzanne also included the MTAO tracking guide, which kind of breaks down what we spent that grant funding for. So you can see we spent almost $20,000. And you can see ag trailer supplies, BPA conferences, SCS, pasta roller, state and national dues, all kinds of things. Western Studies field trip, classroom supplies, industrial arts materials. It's great resource, a great source of revenue. So I appreciate the board supporting the report. And so we can be hopefully refunded for that, renewed for that funding next year. Okay, next we had 10.5, board consideration possible actions to approve a resolution to dispose of outdated library books that have been weeded from our current collection. So I included in your packet board policy 7251, which is disposal of school property. Now, this would be with a vote, but it's not with a vote in the sense of needing voter permission from an election process. So I've highlighted the important language in this policy. It says, to effect proper disposal, trustees shall pass a resolution stating their decision concerning property disposal. The resolution will not become effective until 14 days after the resolution is published in the newspaper of general circulation in the district. So Suzanne would have to publish this before we could actually dispose. And it's very similar to what we did with the submittals for the request for qualifications for the ASIC repair. Once the resolution is effective, the trustees shall sell or dispose of the real property or personal property in a reasonable manner determined to be in the best interest of the district. Also with that, I included a copy of the Montana Code annotated, kind of goes into detail. It's almost verbatim, some of the language that's in board policy. So there again tonight, we've got, I don't know if you've been in the library lately, but we've got stacks and stacks of books that have just been weeded, outdated, 10, 15 years old. Kind of a little sentimental, some of them like those encyclopedia world books and Britannicas and just kind of stones. You've got it all on your phone now, access to all that information. And so it's items like that. Now I'm not sure if the board just wants to dispose of those, but I would just toss them in the garbage, which takes the book. Or if we want to try to just have somebody, if we want to try to sell them for any kind of monetary amount, or it's just if you want to come pick it up by this date, it's free of charge.
That's what I would think.
Or by donation. So just wanted to see if there's any ideas, suggestions.
We could help people by donating the books to them and help their reading abilities. I think that'd be great.
So we just have to do it on a first come, first served basis. We wanted to, pick up, come in, check through what we got and pick it up by such and such date. We can't allow them to pick it up until after that 14 days passed, when it's published in the paper.
Everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Make a motion then.
Motion to approve a resolution to dispose of outdated library books.
Approval of the resolution, dispose of books, donating, give them one.
Second.
Seconded. To approve a resolution to dispose of the outdated library books and give them away on a first come, first served basis. Is there any discussion? Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
Next item, 10.6, board consideration possible action to approve an election resolution to elect 3 trustee positions, each for 3-year terms, and to seek voter approval of an operational levy. Now, the reason we include the operational levy in there because it's placeholder. You can always withdraw it at a later time, but if we're gonna ever consider it, we have to put it in there now. And so I don't know if we have enough information yet. We don't receive the preliminary budget data sheets from the state until March. Typically, right? Unless they've changed that, Suzanne, that's when I'm used to getting that information. And so this is more like a placeholder. You can always retract that later. I don't know if you made a panic. That's just a placeholder for now.
So I would move to approve an election resolution to elect 3 trustees, each with 3-year terms, and to seek voter approval of an operational levy.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the election resolution. If we discuss, is there any discussion about it further or questions? And the 3 are Roxanne, Phil, and Cole, is that correct?
I think that's right.
Okay.
They're getting their paperwork in.
They are.
All right.
2 for 3 tonight.
That's good. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, passes unanimously. Roxanne and Phil, thank you for submitting your applications.
Lastly, item 10.7, I have a board consideration and possible action to approve the activity poster contract that runs from fall 26 through spring of 28, All American Publishing. I feel like they do every district in the state, because everywhere I've been, this is who's done our activity posters. Even though it's the sum is not a large amount, because it's a multi-year contract, I always like to get board approval for this. So it locks us in for a 2-year agreement, and our advertising rebate plan is 25%. I have asked Brock to look into maybe during this term, look into local options. There may be some potential for savings or maybe even a better rebate if we work with one of our local companies. I know we got a couple print companies here in town, so just something I've asked him to kind of look into, see if that's a viable option or not.
Good idea. How much do we receive, Frank? I forgot.
Last 3 years, we've got over 40,000. We're from 12 to, I'd say, 14 a year. Of the check for the fall posters, the winter and the spring.
And you don't have to make those calls. They do.
No,
Which is the best part.
Yeah.
They have you.
Yeah, they do have to, but
Do
you
they?
don't have to.
Yeah. No, that's the truth. I would love to make those calls. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That.
But they're efficient though, like they call you, you get your proof, like.
Yep.
Yeah. Today.
Really?
They got a well-oiled machine.
They got it for sure.
So we need a motion. I would move to approve the activity contract that runs from fall 26 to spring 20.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the activity poster contract with All American Publishing from fall 26 to spring of 28. Any discussion? Favor say aye. Aye. Passes unanimously.
There was so much 1 year, that's 2 different posters.
And we did add last year, the year before, we added band, choir concerts, FFA. We got almost everybody. That's good. One of the posters.
Super.
Yeah.
Is there any other action to come before the board? Casey, any thoughts, questions? Paige, anything from the union standpoint?
All I can think of.
How's science? You liking it?
Yeah, it's been fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right, anybody, nothing else? If not, we'll adjourn with a motion until Monday, January 19th.
You want this mailed to you with the superintendent?
You emailed me yours. so-
Okay, so this was just, does anybody need an envelope? That's it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I interrupted the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Favor say aye. Oh, everybody have a good Christmas, and Dan McGee, I guess, will be in touch with Josh, will be in touch with us to try to figure out what we want to do as far as contractors, so.